Hello everyone and welcome to Sunup. I'm Lyndall Stout. Spring arrived, but the rain unfortunately is spotty at best, if at all, in the places that need it the most. Worsening drought and continued wildfire risk mean that Oklahoma cattle producers have their work cut out for them in getting pastures where they need them this spring. For some guidance, we're joined by Sunup's Curtis Hare with OSU Extension beef cattle specialist Dr. Paul Beck.
Drought, wildfires, blowing dust, sounds about right for pastures in Oklahoma. So Paul, when we're talking about pasture recovery, what are some things that producers need to think about this time of year, given all that's kind of happened in the state recently?
This time of year where we didn't get a lot of recovery from the drought, when we finally did get some rains last fall, the plants didn't have a lot of time to rebuild root reserves to make it through the winter. It appears like, especially our native grasses, made it through the winter really well. We just got to remember that when we get our rain, we will get a rain.
Hopefully.
And when these grasses start growing, we need to give it some time to build root reserves, put out leaf, have that leaf area to help support the growth of the plant for the rest of the summer, instead of just grazing it as soon as we have something green to graze.
And in regards to those areas that have maybe been have lost pasture to wildfire, is there any recommendation there? Because that will grow back up as well. Is it just still continuing to wait? Is there any kind of applications that they can do as well?
We do have prescribed fires every year, and that really does help build the native grass population. It improves the range condition. But in this type of year, we probably shouldn't graze it as quickly as we normally would. The regrowth is really slow. We're still fairly cool. We're getting into the time of year whenever we expect to see it really breaking dormancy and really starting to grow. And we really need to go ahead and let it build up and get some rest. And, if we have sacrifice paddocks or pastures that we can, keep cattle on and keep feeding some hay just for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, to get that 6 to 8 inches of regrowth on our native, so that we know we have the leaf area to help support, future growth. And if we do keep grazing it, it's not going to have the leaf area to grow as effectively later in the summer. Bermuda grass, we need to look at, waiting until we have the moisture and, some warm conditions to support its growth, and go ahead and apply fertilizer. If we have a week of 60-degree nights, that Bermuda grass will be actively growing. We can fertilize it and not worry about just fertilizing those winter annual weeds. And, fertility really helps the water use efficiency of Bermuda grass. So even in drought conditions, applying some fertilizer on our introduced forages, like Bermuda grass or Old World blue stems and the like, will help really keep that growth going through the summer, even though we are dry.
And you mentioned weeds in there, and I'm just kind of curious, and I know you're more of in the cattle specialist, but obviously a lot when it comes to pastures. In these drought conditions, severe drought especially, in western Oklahoma, is weed growth a concern in that type of environment?
So, we can, as fires come through, it will have a release of weeds. Depending on what's in the seed bank, it could be many different things. But at this time of year, when it first starts growing up, there's a lot of those weeds that are very highly nutritious that cattle will consume when they're very young. When they start getting mature, they start having some palatability issues, or the stickers will come out. But even something like greenbrier, which is the bane to a lot of our existence in this part of the state, whenever it gets burned off and starts regrowing those fresh tender shoots, cattle will consume those. Very high in protein and digestibility. So some of these weeds in the right conditions make it good forage use while they're immature.
All righty, thanks, Paul. Dr. Paul Beck, OSU Extension beef cattle specialist here at Oklahoma State University.